This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. Hey, here we go. Here we go. Big Joe. It'd be interesting if Joe announces a corner. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
We are here to announce the 39th pick for my Cleveland Browns. With the 39th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Denzel Boston.
Really? Really? All right, so they got the big wide receiver. I think the internet's gonna love that one. Yeah, this is the one my chat, my comment section was telling me that they want the Browns to go after. But now you get the best of both worlds if you're a Browns fan, right? You get the playmaker in the first round, and then you get the big-bodied 50-50 ball style wide receiver with Denzel Boston in the second round. So you get the best of both worlds there. Nobody can say that the Browns did not address wide receiver, right? And if you look at what they've been able to do today, or not today, just throughout the draft, 2 wide receivers. So they've already double dipped at wide receiver. So a complete overhaul of wide receiver, a complete overhaul at offensive line. And I think it's time for a lot of people to start giving Andrew Berry some credit here. AB and Todd not messing around with the offense. No, they are serious about attacking this thing. They've taken a wrecking ball and they've blown up the entire offensive line room. They've blown up the entire wide receiver room, and they're starting from scratch here. And I didn't think they'd be able to do it all in one offseason, but it looks like they're going to be able to do most of it in this offseason alone. Mighty Mulatto says, let's go Browns. Look, they have completely rebuilt this offensive line. I mean, not this offensive line, this offense. The run game has been boosted by the offensive line signings that they've made, and then also you have to factor in, what they're doing at wide receiver. The only positions that really ain't getting touched is tight end, quarterback right now, and running back. Wow. Hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. It's a fun way to win cash while you're watching your favorite teams. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Speaking of, here are my picks for this upcoming NFL season. They have Myles Garrett at 14 sacks here. I think he will get more than 14 sacks. Joe Burrow at 3,875 passing yards. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard passer. I'm going to go with more. They have Derrick Henry at 1,224 yards. I'm going to go less than that. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at KWEN_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups when you download the app using the link in the description. Here's one thing we cannot accuse Andrew Berry of not being, and that is a man of his word. Because that man is a man of his word. When the season ended, what did Andrew Berry say? Andrew Berry said that he was going to spend a ton of resources on the offense. A lot of us looked at that and said he better. Some of us said he's not going to do it. Jacob Rodriguez just went. He's a good player. But a lot of us scoffed at that idea. Not me, but a lot of people scoffed at that idea. Well, he's proven to be a man of his word, right? He said he was going to put a lot of resources into the offense. What does he do during free agency? Overhauls the offensive line entirely. 3 new starters in 2 days on the offensive line. Complete rehaul, right? Got a new linebacker, but overhauled the offensive line. And then in the draft, what did they address? Wide receiver, and they finished the build on the offensive line, or at least got very close to completing it. They still need to get a center, but got very close to completing the build on the offensive line. Think about it. Like, they're basically replacing an entire wide receiver rotation and an entire offensive line room in one offseason. Man of his word. They fired Kevin Stefanski. They brought in Todd Monken, an offensive coach, to fix the offense, who, we could say about his attractiveness as a head coach candidate. We can have those conversations, but you can't deny that he has a good track record as an offensive coordinator. And then on top of that, you overhaul the offensive line, not just 5 new starters, but 5 starters that they've invested, 4 starters that they have invested in, right? They put money into both guard positions, money into a tackle, and then a first-round pick into a tackle. So this isn't like the Browns of old where we're like, we're going to overhaul the offensive line and we're starting 5 dudes from day 3 of the draft. Like, these are all premium assets that they spent on the offensive line and premium assets that they spent on at wide receiver. This is a real overhaul. This is what a real overhaul looks like, by the way, right? Like, we've been sold a lot of false promise over the years when it comes to what a overhaul is going to be. This is an actual overhaul. Like, this is real, we're fixing the offense. And part of me makes, and like, I think people are making this point in the comment section and in the chat. Part of me wonders, like, how much was Kevin stopping us from making these moves? There's a parallel that I want to point to that I think is relevant here, right? I remember for Andrew Berry's first 3 seasons, I was convinced that the man had a vendetta against defensive tackles. Y'all remember this? If you've been watching and rocking with me for a while, you will remember when there was a time where I was convinced that Andrew Berry simply did not value defensive tackle as a position the same way that I did. So when they finally get picks, premium picks to use at defensive tackle, in 2023, even though they got Jim Schwartz, I'm thinking to myself, they're not going to go and get a defensive tackle. But lo and behold, they hired Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator, and then all of a sudden, defensive tackle becomes a premium position. So it wasn't Andrew Berry who didn't like the defensive tackles. It was Joe Woods who wasn't prioritizing defensive tackles on the shopping list. Now, let's bring this conversation back to Todd Monken and Kevin Stefanski. For years, Browns fans have complained that we don't take wide receiver seriously in the draft. Now, to Andrew's credit, he's always spent some significant resources at wide receiver, and those plays have worked out for the most part, right? The 2 big ones are Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, which worked out the first year. Second year, not so much. We'll see what this third year is. So he's been willing to spend some money on wide receivers, but not really draft assets. And then now we get to Todd Monken being here. And not only have the Browns taken a wide receiver before, I think pick 70 was the one everybody's saying Andrew Berry's never done before. He's taken 2 wide receivers before then. So I think that exposes how Andrew Berry operates as a general manager. You tell me what you need, right? Like, if you're Todd Monken and you say, and Andrew Berry asks you, what do you need from me to be able to build your offense? He's going to listen to that shopping list. And that's going to be how he prioritizes what he wants in the draft. Todd Monken might have obviously said, I need an offensive line. I need some wide receivers. We need to fix the pass game. Well, they spent the whole offseason shopping for offensive linemen and wide receivers, 2 positions that we thought that they neglected for the last few years, right? Kind of reflects who was making those mistakes during the Stefanski era. And it seems like it's Kevin, because Kevin didn't want to shop for wide receivers or offensive linemen, or at least shop and put them high up on the list there. That's just my theory, but we've seen this before. We know what Andrew's style is. You know what I mean? He's not going to let you pick the groceries, right? If you ask him to get lemons at the grocery store, he's going to pick the right one, right, at the grocery store. But you can tell him in general you need that one thing. That's how this works, right? The coach can put together a grocery list. Andrew Berry goes shopping. And Andrew Berry makes the decisions that he thinks are best to fill that grocery list. So the next time a position comes up and we're like, Andrew Berry doesn't care about this position, he's not going to draft these positions, understand that the positions they take and the value that they have at those positions are going to be largely related to what that coach actually wants to build that part of the team. So the next time we're complaining, oh, he doesn't want to draft a player, ask yourself, is it Andrew that doesn't want to draft that position? Or is it the coach that's not asking for those positions to be selected with premium assets? Because obviously he has no problem taking offensive linemen. Obviously he has no problem taking wide receivers early. It's more of a reflection of who's asking to do, who's filling the grocery list. That's the big thing here. So just to kind of focus in here on Denzel Boston, the good things you like about Denzel Boston, the size, obviously, right? He's a good route runner for the guy, his size, good body control, good hands, solid hands, right? I don't think that's an issue for him. You would like the separation to be a little better. You're not necessarily going to go to him in short yardage situations unless you're trying to give him like a 50-50 ball in like the red zone or something like that. So, you know, if you were drafting Denzel Boston to be your end-all, be-all receiver, I would have a bigger problem with that. But that's not what the Browns are doing, right? They already have Jerry Jeudy there to handle some roles. They have Casey Concepcion to handle short yardage stuff. So now you pair Denzel Boston with that, and you can see how those three players on top of Harold Fannin can kind of live in harmony and create the bevy of options for the Browns pass catching room. So, you know, they drafted in a way, and this is, again, you know, why I focus so much on process instead of just my individual evaluation of a guy, because you could draft in a way that severely mitigates your concern about a player's weakness. And this is a way to do that, right? Like if you're worried about the ability for him to kind of do all the stuff that you need, then this mitigates it a little bit, right? Getting Casey Concepcion means that you're not going to rely on him to do some of the stuff that he's not good at. So really solid pick, in my opinion. Is it exactly what I wanted at 39? No, like I probably would have preferred one of the defensive players there. But again, I don't think you should evaluate a draft solely on what you want and if the team did what you want, because the draft and the reasons for drafting players are so much bigger than that, right? Does it make sense? Does there seem like a plan? There's a plan. I'm really interested to hear Todd Monken talk about this one. So that's probably going to be a video that's going to also drop later today. But let me know your thoughts about this one down below. But yeah, the big takeaway, look, the Browns are, again, we talked about this yesterday. The big takeaway is they're doing things to make it easier to play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And that is because they're going to get an evaluation of what's on the roster this year. So there's no doubt if Deshaun Watson goes out there, he ends up winning the starting job and he stinks when they've rebuilt the offensive line and gotten new wide receivers, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. You can't blame the offense anymore. You can't blame wide receiver. You can't blame offensive line. The same thing goes for Shador and Dylan Gabriel, right? If they go out there and they're not successful, can't blame the offense anymore. Can't blame the wide receivers anymore. Can't act like the Browns didn't make commitments to get better at those positions. So Andrew Berry building off of what he started yesterday. It's a good thing to hear.